they've got no option but to withdraw all of their official U.S. military personnel from Erbil and from the Kurdistan region. Because what is going to defend them? Nothing. Already, they're getting smoked by Iran. They're, shooting these CRAM systems into there, hoping that they might do something to stop an Iranian drone. But already, they can't defend themselves. And now that the 5 remaining Patriot batteries that they had there, they've relocated to who knows where, maybe Kuwait, I don't know. They've relocated these. They've got nothing left to defend themselves. It's not a matter of, if Iraqi PMF is disarmed, then we'll withdraw. They have no options. There's a September 30th deadline that the U.S. is really trying to push for, where the Iraqi government will require all of the Iranian-backed militias in the country, the Popular Mobilization Forces, to hand over their arms to the government. And supposedly this will coincide on September 30th with the U.S. fully removing all of its official troop presence out of the country. Now, these sorts of deadlines for disarmament of Iranian-backed militias in the country have come and gone. We've covered this extensively on the channel. I'm not going to bore you with all the details once more. But what I will tell you is that things were looking pretty good for the United States. I'm not saying they would have succeeded at all in trying to disarm the Iraqi PMF. It would have failed. But maybe in the best case scenario, if you're Tom Barrack, you might get some sort of a civil war to take place in the country. There's a new prime minister, and Tom Barrack and the U.S. are pressuring him very hard to try and weaken and cut off the Iraqi PMF economically. Of course, disarming them, that's a big one. Economically, sanctions, whatever it may be, oil, cutting off oil access, all these sorts of things. Well, they just met with the new prime minister of Iraq in the Oval Office. Donald Trump met with him and, they hit it off and everything was going smoothly. And then something happened that was not so great for these sorts of plans and operations. Saudi Arabia decided that they did not want to respond to a Yemeni attack on their country because they're getting their asses handed to them by Yemen. And they said, well, it wasn't Yemen that blew up the east to west pipeline in Yanbu. It was Iraqi PMF. So we're going to respond to Iraqi PMF so as to not escalate the tensions further with Yemen. So Saudi Arabia decided to, in tandem with the United States, bomb 20 different Iraqi PMF positions in the country, under the auspices that this was in response to attacks on Saudi oil infrastructure. So the attacks resulted in several martyrs. In fact, 5 IRGC, yes, Iranian IRGC instructors were killed in the American-Saudi airstrikes on Iraq last night. So now you understand why Iran launched airstrikes on Jordan, Kuwait, and Bahrain, right? Because Saudi Arabia and the U.S. bombed 5 IRGC instructors as well as a bunch of Iraqi PMF military personnel. And there were huge funerals across Iraq for the martyred fighters that died in these attacks. Iranian and Iraqi martyrs from the recent Saudi-American aggression were brought to the holy shrine in Karbala, Iraq. Now, this is where things get interesting because remember, the U.S. is trying to force the Iraqi government to pressure the Iraqi PMF to give up their arms. So something like this, U.S. and Saudi airstrikes on Iraqi PMF, is going to only destabilize this process. The Iraqi Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi was supposed to go to Saudi Arabia this week, and he has since canceled his official trip to Saudi Arabia, where he was set to meet Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. That was scheduled for Thursday following the overnight U.S.-Saudi airstrikes, Reuters reported. That's a big deal because Iraq and Saudi Arabia right now are working on major energy infrastructure projects. So to ghost MBS in a moment like this, when there's so much going on and there's so many efforts to try and create alternatives to the pre-existing energy infrastructure in the region and vital corridors for energy to be passed through, like the Strait of Hormuz or the Red Sea, it's a really big deal. Now, The other point I'll add in this all is that the U.S. says, well, we're gonna leave our positions in Iraq. We're gonna leave our U.S. military bases. We're out of the Victoria base. We're gonna be out of even Iraqi Kurdistan come September 30th. Well, that's not really up for the U.S. to decide, right? Because Iran has practically bombed every single thing that has a U.S. flag on it in Iraq and Iraqi Kurdistan. They bombed all of it. There's nothing left. An Iraqi PMF and the country did a number on the U.S. Victoria base, which used to be the United States' largest foreign military base. So what are we talking about here? Like, oh, the U.S. is dangling some big carrot in front of the Iraqis and the Iranians, like, oh, we're going to leave the country on September 30th, but only if the Iraqi PMF disarms. Well, you're asking a lot and not really giving up a lot in return because, I mean, A, they don't have a big military presence there anymore either, but B, the military presence they did have there has been bombed into smithereens by the Iranians. So what do you mean that you're going to demand the Iraqi PMF be disarmed? We also this week had this. Several Iranian Shahed 136 drones impacted Kurdish opposition targets in Iraqi Kurdistan for like the 700th time. Now, what is noteworthy about this is that these strikes are only going to get worse. You remember a week or two ago, we covered the massive Iranian strikes on Iraqi Kurdistan and the Suleimania Governorate, which resulted in an entire mountainside going up in flames because that was their main weapons and ammo depot. Well, these attacks are only going to get worse. If anyone thought that they were going to have some sort of a success with the Kurdish anti-Iran opposition groups leading some sort of an invasion into Iran, they'd be dead wrong. And they're about, they have effectively given up now. Why? Because the United States has already withdrawn its last Patriot batteries from Erbil, Iraq. From Erbil, Iraq. And they will withdraw all of their remaining military forces from Iraqi Kurdistan on September 30th, 2026. Now, if they've already withdrawn all of their Patriot batteries, they've got no option but to withdraw all of their official U.S. military personnel from Erbil and from the Kurdistan region. Because what is going to defend them? Nothing. Already they're getting smoked by Iran. They're, shooting these CRAM systems into there, hoping that they might do something to stop an Iranian drone. But already they can't defend themselves. And now that the 5 remaining Patriot batteries that they had there, they've relocated to who knows where, maybe Kuwait, I don't know. They've relocated these. They've got nothing left to defend themselves. It's not a matter of, if Iraqi PMF is disarmed, then we'll withdraw. They have no options. The move comes after repeated Iranian drone and missile attacks against U.S. targets in this area, which have become increasingly difficult to defend against. It would mark Iraq's first time without an American military presence since 2003, after more than 23 years of occupation. And to that I say, congratulations, Iraq. To that I say, congratulations, Iraq. But we should all remember who were the ones that did the most damage to these occupation bases that were no longer welcome in Iraq. Was it the Iraqi parliament that did the damage? Was it the rank and file Iraqi military that did the damage? Or was it the Iraqi PMF who did the damage? Was it the Iraqi PMF who kicked the U.S. running and screaming with their hair on fire out of the U.S. Victoria base and out of the Kurdistan region? Now, I know some of you will say, but Jackson, what about the special operations guys in Iraq? Of course, there's still going to be whatever they have, black ops, special ops. I don't know these things. But Jackson, what about the secret Israeli base they found in the country at the end of the Ramadan war? Okay, I hear you. I hear you. But as far as an official U.S. military presence in the country, they will be gone September 30th. And maybe, just maybe, we'll have some cake and light some candles here on that very day when it all comes. But maybe not. Because if I had to guess, the U.S. wants civil war in Iraq. I had to guess, this is some sort of a deeply flawed plan that they intend to impose on the good people of Iraq to create civil war and to bog down the Iranian-backed militias. That's how I see it. That's what I think is happening. But who knows? Maybe they just have no options. They have nowhere left to hide, and they'll be kicked out once and for all, and nothing will tangibly change. Well, the one thing we should remember also is that all of Iraq's oil revenue, it first passes through the Federal Reserve in the United States. Did you know that? Ever since the invasion of Iraq, all of Iraq's oil revenue, it first has to pass through the Federal Reserve. And Trump has already threatened to withhold billions of, in fact, he did withhold billions of dollars for, I think it was a couple weeks at the start of his second term. He withheld billions of dollars in Iraqi oil revenue because he didn't like what they were doing. And that was, of course, the idea to nominate Mr. Nouri al-Maliki as the prime minister of Iraq. So Nouri al-Maliki did not become the prime minister of Iraq because he was viewed as being too pro-Iran. And Mr. Ali al-Zaidi became prime minister of Iraq. And Iraq's oil revenue flowed from the U.S. Federal Reserve to their country. This, however, will be the first step in getting their country back, their sovereignty back. And I personally believe we're going to see a lot of stuff change in Iraq over the next several years. This deadline is going to be huge. The Iran war is going to be huge. Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iraqi PMF could be huge. There could be civil war. And I might remind you all, I hope nothing but the best for Ali Sistani. But Ali Sistani is a very elderly man. And we'll see how attitudes are. Maybe things will change. Who knows? Who knows? Lots to follow. Lots to follow in Iraq. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.